Hi there, welcome to Monster Hits here on Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. Excuse me, I got something in my throat there. Anyways, Monster Hits is this show that I decided to put together to give some kind of attention to songs as opposed to albums. I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do here, but then I decided, you know what, if you're going to rank songs from a year, they should be big hits, because that's what people are going to want to see. So I decided to go with those monster hits from in this case 1970, songs that did well on the Billboard, or finished high on the UK charts, or did well in the world charts, or were hugely commercial and commercial successful. Not all of them were hugely commercial sounding, but for the most part they were very much that mainstream music, I guess you might want to call it, but definitely rock. So what I've done is I try to choose, first and foremost, I choose all the songs I like best, and then from them I try to pick through the ones that I think show a little bit of a variety, not just one sound throughout all 5 songs. I tried to make it so it's a little bit more variety. So you might get 1 or 2 songs that are the same, so I just choose the one I like the best. It makes most sense, right? So I've chosen 5 songs today after much diligence, just also to let you know that this is very highly subjective, just my opinion. These are not the definitive top 5 songs of that year. In fact, they may only be a top 5 songs in my list. If you have a different list, you should put that down below. I would encourage you to do that. Maybe we'll get some kind of consensus as to what the real big hits were, as opposed to the subjective view of my subjective view. So basically it's my subjective view here, so I'm just going to talk about those 5 songs in the order that I like them best. So overall, I've chosen 5 songs. So anyways, the year I chose was 1970. I've chosen 5 songs from that year. Had to go back a couple times and scrutinize, because there was a couple songs here that I chose and I thought, God, I don't remember that being a 1970s hit. And of course, when I went back and looked, it wasn't. It was released the year before, but it was still on the Billboard charts. So Billboard wasn't really a good place to look for it. So I looked through Wikipedia to find those songs as well. I looked through the top 100s by different people, tried to get a census of what was out there. And then every song that I chose, I went and checked to make sure it was released in that year, because I had a couple that I wasn't sure about. One particular one that's on here that I thought was a 69 release, but it actually was a March of 1970 release. So we have 5 tracks. Of course, it's changed a bit. I took a couple out of here that I liked a lot, but one of them turned out to be a 69 release. The other one turned out to be the one thing I was trying to avoid, which to have repeat it, like have a bands that had stuff in 69 and then have some of those same bands in 1970. I tried to spread the love around a little bit more, so I took one of the bands out for that reason, put in another band that was really should have been on there anyways, and just basically changed it up a little bit. I did leave one particular band in there, even though they had one last, because I think this was their last year to produce an album. We know who we're going to be talking about here, but I did that for them because they're considered one of the greatest rock bands, if not the greatest of all time. So we'll get down to it now. I've talked enough. The number 5, coming in number 5, is the song from the Kinks called Lola. This had to be on the list. It had some significance to it because it's kind of a gender equality type song. And Ray Davies was renowned for coming out with stuff before anybody else, always taking on social agenda, writing stuff. I wouldn't say he was underrated writer. People who knew him knew he was a great writer. It wasn't appreciated enough in the United States for obvious reasons. They had issues with the U.S. and this band should have been bigger than they were. But at any rate, the song Lola is a fantastic song talking about, sexuality and gender equality and that kind of stuff, but really put together in a kind of tongue-in-cheek fashion. Just very, very well crafted song, I think. So it's coming in at number 5. Number 4, I think of this as kind of a psychedelic song, but not overtly. Definitely was a monster hit, no doubt about it. The guy's vocals are fantastic here. The song itself is really catchy. We're talking about Blues Images, Ride Captain Ride upon the mystery ship. Yeah, such a great tune. Had to be on my list for today, and it made number 4. It was tough because originally it wasn't going to be on there, and then I thought, no, it has to be in there. So I squeezed out somebody, and then I ended up putting that person back in to remove somebody else. So coming in at number 3 is the Beatles, of course, and the Let It Be. Now, I originally thought this was a 69 release because Abbey Road was released in 1970. And was this song on Abbey Road? I don't know why. I think it might have been. I'm drawing a blank, which does happen more than I care to admit. And I don't even know where the B section of my Galaxy is. Oh, here it is. Let's just check, because I don't think it's on here, but I might be wrong. No, it isn't. It's on the Let It Be album, of course. Why would it be on here? So I thought... Sorry, this is a discussion I'm having with myself. So I thought that Abbey Road was the last Beatle album, which it was, released in 1970. I thought everything else is in the 60s, but I think this song, Let It Be, was released in March of 1970 from the Let It Be album. But anyways, it's coming in here at number 3. Great track. Fantastic. Most Beatles stuff is just really good. This is just one of those songs that had to be on a list like this. So number 2, could have been, it's Simon and Garfunkel. It could have been Bridge Over Troubled Water. It could have been a couple other tracks, but I chose Cecilia because of its upbeat nature, its tongue-in-cheek about relationships, its storytelling at its best, and the catchy riff and beat is so good. It had to be on here. And I originally had it on here, and Lola wasn't on here because I didn't want to have 2 female songs, or 2 songs about females, or 2 songs about that particular subject. But how can you take either of those off, really? They're just so good. So number 1, it's a heavy song, one of the very first kind of real heavy riffs, right? And it's from Mississippi Queen. We're talking, the song is Mississippi Queen. The band, of course, is Mountain. It's going to be number 1 today. Such a catchy song. I had to put it in here. I removed somebody at the bottom of the list and put this in here, and then I ended up saying, after I put it in, I said, no, it's got to be number 1. So it went from not being on the list to being number 1, and such is the state of my mind. But anyways, it was fun to do. This was fun to do, and so I'm just going to reiterate them just in case it's a little confusing, because I was kind of all over the map today. So we had Mississippi Queen from Mountain, Cecilia from Simon and Garfunkel, Let It Be from the Beatles, Ride Captain Ride from Blues Images, and then Lola from the Kinks. So there you have it. Those are my 5. So please put your 5 down below. Maybe some of my 5 might be on some of your 5. That would be nice. But the last one out, there was a couple that nobody had any of the stuff I had chosen, which is great, because that's what this is about. You go back now and say, oh yeah, those were great, but I like these ones better, and that's what gets us going, right? And anyways, I hope you liked this episode. If you did, please hit the like button, hit the subscription button. It's much appreciated. And we'll be back with this particular episode starting next week. We'll be on Friday every week, Monster Hits. So I hope you enjoy this, and we will see you again next Friday for another episode of Monster Hits. Take care. Bye.